Hi, and welcome to Papa Marucci Cooks for family and friends. Today we are going to do a pasta as part of our lasagna, which is going to be our end product. So we have all the ingredients out here. We have a food processor, 4 whole eggs. We're going to lightly beat those, 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and we are going to use a little salt. Now, pasta, this is the basic pasta recipe that anybody can Google and find. I'm going to use this for lasagna because we're going to want a little sturdier noodle. It's not going to parboil. We're going to have this lay it right into the lasagna. So the whole eggs and the AP flour will give us that consistency we're looking for. If we're doing a different noodle, say if we're going to do a spaghetti carbonara, we might use mostly egg yolks as opposed to whole eggs. And I may even also use the 00 flour. At that point, that's the Italian 00 flour that you see quite a bit in pastas. Salt will also vary depending on how you're cooking your pasta. Today we're going to put salt in the lasagna because, as I mentioned, we aren't going to parboil it. Normally when you cook pasta, you like getting that water nice and salty, kind of like if you were swimming and you just caught a big wave in the ocean right in your mouth. You want it to kind of taste like that. So that is usually when you will get your salt into your pasta dish. And a lot of the dishes also have you add pasta water to the sauce. So anyway, in those cases, you wouldn't really need salt in your pasta, but today we are going to. So let's get underway. Got a little flour on my shirt already. So let's go. We're gonna put in, like I said, I have 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Now that may vary depending on where you live and what the weather's like today, because when I'm in Chicago, it's gonna be more humid. If I'm cooking at my mom and dad's in Florida, it's gonna be very humid. I may not need as much of the liquid product, or in this case, we would probably just add a little bit more flour. Here in Colorado, it's very dry, so we may be adding a little water, but we'll see. So anyway, we'll get this thing going. See how we do here. A dough blade is probably pretty good. Right now I don't really know where my dough blade is, so this is perfectly fine. I'm just going to do, say, a little less than a teaspoon of salt in here to mix that all up. I prefer to have a pouring type of measuring cup so it can slowly add the eggs as the processor is running. Give that a little time to get incorporated. So what we're going to look for at the end of this, when we get all these eggs in here, we don't want it to be a big ball already in here. That would be too much liquid. We're going to want this to be kind of like a course meal consistency. Right now it looks like it's going to need some more liquid, so we're just slowly adding this. And as I said, here it's pretty dry. Sometimes I actually will get a little bit of water to add in there if it's not coming together yet. Let's take a look and see how this is doing. So it's actually super dry, but I'm gonna let this run for a little bit longer before I make any decisions. I'd rather have it not be too wet and clumpy kind of, or I guess the best thing to say, you just don't want it too wet because it'll be sticky when you're trying to roll it out and do everything else. We want to get the right consistency. I'm actually going to add a little bit of water, very little bit at a time, and see how this goes. And we can start seeing it kind of come together now. This usually might take a couple minutes. Another way, if you really were getting into it, which I do quite a bit, is just mix it by hand without using the machine. I could just put the flour right on the counter, make a little well in the middle, add the eggs one at a time, and stir it in and do it by hand that way. It's also, then you don't need one of these if you're just, want to get into it more too. Hey, I like to do that. That's what it's all about, right? All right, so now it looks like it's kind of coming together a little bit. And this is what we're going to probably want. So it's still pretty dry, but it can clump. So we're just gonna pour it out on the counter, and I'm gonna knead it for probably about 5 minutes. So we'll show how this comes together initially, and then we'll tune back in and see the finished product here. So here we just want to, obviously you have your clean hands. I didn't cover that in the beginning, but we're always washing our hands before we venture into this cooking arena. So it's coming together now. It didn't look like it would because it was kind of dry still, but once you kind of get it all together, it comes together similar to this. So I'll do this for a few minutes and show you what it looks like when we come back. Okay, so now we have a smooth, not completely elastic, but nice put together piece of pasta dough. And we're gonna now let this sit. We are gonna put it in the refrigerator and let it sit overnight and use it tomorrow. If you were gonna use this right away, just wrap it up here in plastic wrap. Let it sit for maybe a half hour while you get the rest of your pasta sauces ready, and it'll be ready to roll out in whatever noodle you were gonna do. Since today we're doing lasagna, our next step is to make the meat sauce, so that'll take some time. So I've decided to let this just sit in the refrigerator for a while. I'll remove it probably an hour or so before I'm ready to roll out the dough, and it should be ready to go then. So we'll see you then. Okay, so we are now ready to roll out our pasta. Our dough had been sitting in the refrigerator for a few hours. We've removed it and let it get to room temperature, so you can tell the consistency is quite a bit different than when we put it in. I am going to cut about a quarter of this off and leave the rest of it wrapped while I work this piece of dough here. Okay, then I will, on a lightly floured surface, we're going to roll this out a few times. Now this is, it's somewhat time consuming here. It's just, I wouldn't call it time consuming, somewhat repetitive. We're just going to flatten this out, get a nice roll on it, and just keep doing this for a while to kind of help the gluten in the dough come together and form that helps this pasta. So continue to roll out. So once you get it maybe a quarter inch, fold over just past the halfway mark, fold it over again, still while it's floured surface, give it another roll. The dough is somewhat firm, which is okay. That's what we wanted, because this, again, this dough is going to be baking in our lasagna for approximately an hour. It's going to be absorbing all the tomato sauce as it cooks, and then it'll be able to withhold all that time in there. If we had too soft of a dough or there's too much liquid in here and it was really pliable, it would just kind of crumble away. Okay, once we've done this, I'm going to continue to do this process probably 3 or 4 more times, and then we'll soon be ready to run it through the machine. All right, so now we've done this 4 or 5 times, and I know at this point you're thinking, well, that seems like a lot of work. I'm just going to go buy a box. But I'm telling you, everybody loves fresh pasta. And as soon as you tell them you made homemade pasta, everybody gets excited about it. So it's well worth the effort. If you have one of these machines, KitchenAid, a lot of people have these blenders. These attachments are a great idea. There's this kind of an attachment. There's a different one to make other noodles, but I like this one because it can give you the sheets. So what we're going to do is something very similar to what we did just previously. Is we're going to run this through, and once again we're going to fold it over, smash it down a little bit, and we're going to continue to do this probably 3 or 4 times just to run it through. And again, this is just helping the glutens come together in the pasta and form a nice, perfectly consistent dough. Okay, so we run this through 4 or 5 times. We have it on the widest setting. I will now, which is why I have my glasses here, I'm going to keep track of these settings. I'm now going to slowly move it up each time. Actually, I'm going to let this one be the widest right now. Every now and then, you can flour the dough if need be. Right now, I think that's probably a pretty good consistency. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. I'm not going to go to the thinnest possible. We're going to want probably, it goes up to 8. We're probably going to stop at 6 or 7. But once it starts feeding through, it's just a matter of moving the attachment up a little bit, make it tighter each time, and just keep feeding it through. Yeah, so this is pretty much what we're looking for. I'm not going to worry about flouring this anymore. Let me see where we're at here. All right, we got just a couple more to go. I think this is 6. I think I'm gonna, or this attachment right here, or this setting is 6. I'm gonna do up to 7, and then we're gonna leave it at that. You could get away with 6 if you want, but we're going a little bit thinner. So by doing that whole process of folding over and rolling pin, and then pulling over and running it through the machine, like we were saying, it helps that the glutens develop in the process, and we are almost there. Okay. And this looks like it's going to be quite a bit of pasta, so it's going to for a lasagna. So here we go. Here we go. All right, so now we are finishing the last spaghetti sheet, or pasta sheet, I should call it. It's not spaghetti yet. That is the option you can do. So here we have, clearly I didn't estimate my quarters very well because we have some long sheets and some short sheets. But that works out fine because as we assemble our lasagna, sometimes we're going to need a narrower fit in the pan. So once again, if you are making lasagna like we are today, we're ready to go. And if you are going to make a spaghetti like I mentioned, or fettuccine, any other kind of noodle, you can even hand cut these, or you can switch out the attachments and cut the noodles the way you want. Also, for these sheets, it's very good to make ravioli. We'll do that one of these days as well. So we are ready to assemble our lasagna. So this concludes our first video of pasta making. Hopefully this encourages you to give it a try and have friends and family over. Everybody loves homemade pasta, fresh pasta, and we'll be doing more recipes like this in the future. These sheets are heading toward a lasagna shortly, and if you like this video and would like to see more recipes down the road, please visit our website, papaMarucciCooks.com. Sign up for future videos, and buon appetito!